Welcome to But Jesus Drank Wine.
And other stories that kept us stuck. I'm Mead.
And I'm Christy.
And in this podcast, we'll explore the stories that kept us, well, stuck, wanting to drink and not wanting to drink all at the same time.
Join us as we show you that freedom from alcohol does not have to mean a life sentence of misery and missing out,
but actually means living an authentic life full of peace, joy, and purpose.
Do you ever do a dry January, Christy?
Oh my gosh, yes, I did. I did a dry January a few times in order to prove to myself that I didn't have a quote-unquote problem with alcohol. And one of two things happened. Either I didn't make it all the way through, or I did, and I went back to drinking just as much on February 1st.
Yes. One of the things during my dry January attempts that was worse than almost drinking was the noise, the mental real estate that alcohol occupied during that time, even though I wasn't drinking, which was so bizarre to me. But I'm so excited because we get to do dry January with an amazing group of gals, totally different.
Yes. Yes. So we are going to be coaching through my book together, Love Life Sober, a 40-day alcohol fast in our beautiful community. We would love you to join us. We are going to kick off on January 6th. We're going to be meeting for 6 weeks. All the calls will be recorded, and we are going to pop all the information for you in the show notes. Head down there, click on the link. We can't wait for you to join us. Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. If you're watching us on YouTube, we have our Christmas jumpers / Christmas sweaters on. And aren't we cute? And we have these on.
Merry.
Because we are about to have our community Christmas party. And
Yes.
one of our most favorite people on the entire planet, who is on our leadership team, who designed the invitation for the Christmas sweater party community extravaganza,
Who's been leading us through our Advent Devos.
Who's been leading the Advent devotionals. Lauren is back in the podcast house. Hello. Hi, babe. Hi. Happy to be here today.
Merry Christmas. We're so glad you're here. Lauren was on the pod way back. You were one of our first guests who came to share your freedom from alcohol story as a former client of Christy's, sharing what your journey to freedom from alcohol was looking like, had looked like. And we thought it would be really cool to chat with Lauren, to check back in with Lauren. We see her all the time, but we thought it'd be really cool if we could check back in with her here about the rest of the freedom from alcohol journey. Like, what's it look like since, was that 2 years ago?
Yeah, so it was episode 21, and we aired it on the 24th of April, 2023. So this is a year and a half later that we're talking.
Yeah, so good. So we want to know what's different in your life. We want to know, what has freedom from alcohol look like? Does it look like the same as it did then? We want to know all the things, and we can't wait to, hear it all. So take it away, Lauren.
Okay, so I'm so happy to be back. I didn't remember the exact date, but I knew it was about a year and a half ago. I remember it being spring. And the last time I was on here, I talked for a while about that experiment that I conducted that Christy had encouraged me to do, where I had basically been alcohol free for 8 months at that point. But I was having all these thoughts, and she's just go have a glass of wine. And I was like, okay, that sounds counterintuitive. And I had 3 glasses, and I took all the notes in my notes app, and it was fine. And then the episode aired, and I drank one more time after that. And it was June. So it would have been June 2023. And I drank more than 3 glasses of wine at that point. It was probably a bottle or more. And it was at a beach vacation with friends. And I felt horrible the next day. And I was hungover, and I was just so over it. And even then, after that, I knew I didn't want to repeat that experience. But like, in the back of my mind, subconsciously, and again, I don't know if I could have put words to this, but I was holding up moderation as a goal. I wanted to be the person who could drink 4 or 5 times a year on vacation, on a special occasion, and for it to be totally fine and not a big deal. And
What do you mean by totally fine? Can you just share a little bit more? Yeah.
no, like it wasn't like where I could just drink once in a while at a wedding or at the beach and just be able to do it in the moment and just move on.
Yeah. Without getting
Like,
stuck in that cycle again.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Didn't want to ever be drinking at home on a weeknight again. I knew that I preferred my life without that, but I just wanted to have this very casual relationship with alcohol. But what I found happening was that I was like obsessing about these special occasions months in advance of them happening. And so August of 2023, so basically it was a trip that we were taking to California, my husband and I, and we had dinner reservations at this nice restaurant in the Napa Valley called the French Laundry, which is a destination once in a lifetime opportunity. And I found myself really obsessing a long time in advance about whether or not I was going to drink at this dinner. And I knew that if I made a decision one way or the other, it would be better than being like stuck in this state of indecision.
Yeah.
And so what it came down to was like, I can either make a choice to drink and be okay with whatever the consequences are, or just make the choice not to and not to have to worry about anything at all. And I realized that there was so much freedom in the choice not to drink. And so at that point, so we're in August of 23, I said, you know what, I'm just going to take this off the table indefinitely. And it was only then, so really that's 12 months into being alcohol free, except for the 2 times that I did drink, that I really started to feel what y'all talk about all the time, that freedom. I wasn't saying forever, and to be honest with you, I still have a hard time with the word forever. But it's an indefinite no for me right now, and that made all the difference. It really did, because of course there are people out there who are able to drink 4 or 5 times a year and manage it fine. But I don't think I'm ever going to be one of those people. At least not coming from the place where I was. I don't know that I've ever been a really casual drinker.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So when you were thinking like this is the relationship I want to have with alcohol, I want to be able to drink on a few special occasions a year. What was it that you were wanting from those special occasions? What were you looking forward to from those special occasions? What was alcohol representing in those moments? Because I think that I coach with gals all the time that they think that this is what they want. And that's totally fine. Obviously, look where you've gotten to. It's amazing. But I really want to like get under the hood of like, what was it that you wanted
Yeah.
at those quote unquote special occasions?
I think that being part of a group and doing what everyone else is doing was part of it.
Yeah.
Because when you don't drink alcohol, for example, like at a black tie event, you feel a little different. And part of it, and maybe this is going to sound shallow, but part of it was just like missing feeling high sometimes.
Yeah.
Like feeling a little bit buzzed. That's why it's such a powerful substance, is because that is a good feeling. If you ignoring all of the stuff after it, that feeling is nice. And so I think I missed that a little bit. But I think that was mainly it. And this is another thing that can be really hard. It was hard for me. All of the memories were not bad. It wasn't all awful. Like I had some really great memories and fun times with old friends who I'm still very close to that included alcohol. And so learning to do things can be hard. And so I guess part of me was like, maybe if I can fix it 95% of the time, I'm not drinking at home anymore, and I'm not drinking to cope with grief anymore, and I'm figuring out all my stuff. Maybe I can still go to the beach and drink with my friends once a year.
Yeah.
Or maybe I can go to a wedding or a black tie event and still have a glass of champagne. Because all that stuff was really fun, right? So it was like I was trying to mentally separate these two things when in reality it was all connected. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, and so then what do you feel then was the shift in? Because what I hear you saying is that it had its moments, but then you realized, and correct me if I'm wrong, that life taking it off the table was better.
Yeah, totally. And it was because what I found was, okay, I'm going to struggle to maybe put this in the words. Okay, so not drinking becomes easy if you lose your desire for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And how do you do that?
By I was doing the opposite. I was putting my desire up on a pedestal. And I was saying,
Yes.
I'm going to reserve this for only special occasions.
Yeah.
So it was robbing me by doing that, and by subconsciously saying, I'm going to only do this 4 or 5 times a year. I don't know why I keep repeating those numbers, but honestly, that's what I thought. That's what I was thinking.
That's what a lot of women think.
Yeah. It was like, it was robbing me of the peace I could experience the other 95% of the time.
Yeah, so good, babe.
Because I was like, okay, so let's take this dinner at the French Laundry. I would, months in advance, I was like, if I decide to drink, how much am I going to drink? And how am I going to feel the next day? And how long is it going to take my body to detox from those drinks? And if I'm going to drink at the French Laundry, why don't I just drink during the whole vacation?
But are you going to be able to enjoy are you going to be able to enjoy the French Laundry food?
Am I going to black out? Will this open up the door to me drinking at home again? It was like a mountain of anxiety for like the trade-off the mental math didn't work for me. Once I made the choice just to say no, not just to that dinner in California, but no indefinitely, I didn't have to think about any of that at all anymore. And it was, that felt so good. It just felt, it's like, oh, I can actually relax now. Because at that point, I really did know how to do all of those things without alcohol. I was a year in. I'd experienced so many things without drinking. And so not only was like the anxiety gone of having to do it for the first time, but it was also like, oh, I don't have to worry about this anymore. So I feel like I'm being very long-winded and maybe not being very clear.
I'm still doing this because I feel like this is so important for the women that are in this place that you were in, and that you were going and thinking about this back and forth for another year. And so I love that you were just like putting to words all the things that you were thinking and feeling. Sorry, I've cut you off.
It's like really a different. I think I basically spent 1 year being alcohol free, not drinking except for those 2 times. And then I was able to taste the freedom.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
There's a difference between being alcohol free and being, maybe, in my mind, you can be alcohol free and not feel free, because it's a alcohol when you're alcohol free, it's a behavior thing.
Yeah.
You can just abstain from drinking alcohol free. But freedom is when we change our desire for the substance, so then it becomes effortless to not do the thing that we don't want to do, which is drink. And I feel like in your story, number one, it's so relatable, because what you could call it that I was trying to moderate all those years. Before I found freedom from alcohol, I was essentially trying to moderate in a similar way to you, where it's only going to be on special occasions. Now mine, I wanted it to be more than 4 or 5 times a year, but I had all of these rules. As long as I'm not drinking on this time of day, or I'm not doing it here or whatever, then it's only reserved for these kinds of occasions and these times. And that's where that like mental real estate becomes so burdened and so cluttered and so noisy and so loud and so stressful. And then you look back but like fun and alcohol have been coupled together. Special occasion and alcohol have been coupled together. Connection with other people and to the way we know connection at that point, like it has been coupled together. Alcohol has been coupled to so many things that we do want, we do enjoy, we do love, we want more of. It takes that experiential knowledge to decouple from the alcohol, which is once you finally took it off the table, it allowed you to start building more of that experiential knowledge that says, actually, no, these things aren't coupled together anymore.
And
Yeah,
and I think, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you. I was just gonna say, it was not like a light switch for me, like on off. It was like,
Yeah.
I think this
Everybody
shift
wants
for
it to
me-
be, but it's not.
Yeah,
yeah.
it was like a dimmer, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
And it happened gradually. And so I guess I would say for the women who were like really trying sobriety, but are just feeling like not free, it didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen overnight for me, but it was worth it.
Yeah, I think that when you're talking about holding it up as a special thing, a thing to connect all the things that you said, it's almost fanning the flame of the
Mhm.
belief that is true, right? It's
Yeah.
like almost making that belief that it does that thing even stronger. And therefore, you're not gathering the data that the opposite is true. And so,
Yeah.
why when you were saying that, and I was like, how do you do that? It's like you do that by doing the opposite of not drinking at those special occasions to prove that you don't need it for connection, to prove that you don't need it to belong, to prove that it's somehow this special, wonderful elixir of life that you can reserve for these very special occasions, right? Like you need the data. And in order to gather the data, you have to do the opposite and know that that's all possible without it, which is what you've done. And I love the dimmer switch analogy so much because I do think that people hear Meet and I talk and they're like, oh, I'm never going to lose the desire to drink. I'm going to have it. I'm going to have that desire forever. And it's unfortunately or fortunately, but depending on how you look at it, you gotta do this experience the way that you've done it, where it's taking it off the table. Even though that sounds really scary, like the way that you've gotten to it, God's plan. God's plan, God's
Right.
timing, all things. Yeah.
Yeah. And even today, like a thought will cross my mind. An old neural pathway will light up, but it is it's not it's not so much an uncomfortable feeling,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, the more that it's so huge the way that we decouple these things by feasting on the new experiences. That's why we always talk about like the AFFTs as being so important, like getting through those vacations and big dinners, those special occasions, getting through those, going through those for the first time without alcohol and collecting that data that says, oh, where I once thought that this was like the holy grail of all things to have wine at this thing, now I can see that like I have this data that says no, because I'm looking at it from all these different angles. And so as we're feasting, if you will, on these experiences, doing it a different way than we ever have without alcohol, we're slowly crowding out where alcohol was taking up so much space. It's being crowded out, like that dimmer switch analogy. Like we're crowding out any positive, so to speak, air quotes, for alcohol. And that's how those beliefs change over time to become more truer. But it's not something that happens overnight. It's all of that what you've described. And the experimental mindset of both is so huge in that.
Yeah, and you laid that foundation, right? Like you had
Yeah.
the data and the foundation from the first year to know that it was better, to know that that's how you wanted your life to look like. And yeah, so good. Can we talk about what has happened to your faith in the last kind of year and a bit?
Yes. I think that's an interesting question. Okay, so I was talking about how I made that like mindset shift in August of 2023 and how all of a sudden like I just had this mental bandwidth that I had not had before. And you all had a guest on your podcast the following month. So this was September of last year, who had recommended a book called The Bible Recap. And I had never heard of The Bible Recap before. And if there's anyone out there listening who also has not heard of it, it's a book and a podcast written by a woman named Tara Lee Cobble. And it basically it's a reading plan, and it takes you through the Bible in 1 year. And she writes these little fairly short, not summaries. I guess there's summaries, but it's summary and analysis and historical context about what you're reading. Because some of the stuff, let's be honest, is hard. It's dense.
Yeah.
And it's hard to figure out. And so I heard the guest that you all had on, and I was like, oh, that sort of sounds like an interesting sort of low daily time commitment project. And so I think I started the day that I heard y'all's podcast, and I read the Bible in 1 year, and I just found it so fascinating. I've identified as a Christian for as long as my memory serves me, since I was a young child, and I had never read the whole Bible before. And it's unbelievable. But the way that the Bible recap sets it out is you read all of the Old Testament first. So you spend about 9 months in the Old Testament, which sounds like a slog, but it was fascinating. And that's really where I found Jesus, and was in the Old Testament. And it's really incredible. He's really there on page 1. But and I think this is directly tied to that decision I made in that August to take alcohol off the table indefinitely, only because like I had the mental real estate to start thinking about other things, which was also such a blessing, because talking and thinking about alcohol gets very tedious. God bless y'all for what you do, but it's really something that I don't, how in the beginning you want to read all the things and listen to all the things. I really don't anymore. Like I get sick of talking and thinking about alcohol.
Yeah.
But
Hallelujah.
I just had all of this capacity to start thinking about my faith in this whole new way. And it's just been so amazing. Like I finished the Bible recap, that reading plan, and I started back. I started all over again. Not the Bible recap. I'm just reading the Bible on my own this time. I'm following the reading plan that's just like actually printed in the back of my Bible. But I've loved it, and it's brought me such peace and so much clarity about my work and my life, and in just my relationship with God. I I feel so much closer. I feel like it's so much more intimate. I always prayed, but not very regularly. I rarely opened my Bible. We went to church and still do almost every Sunday, but this is just a whole different thing. And alcohol was just the thing that needed to get out of the way
Mhm. Yeah.
for this to happen. And yeah, it's been the best thing.
That's what I still just I'm in awe of. And I don't know if I say it enough. Probably y'all, I know you two probably have heard me say it over and over again, but I knew that freedom from alcohol would lead to better things in my life. When I didn't desire to drink anymore and I could free up the mental real estate that was wrapped up in, am I going to drink? Am I not going to drink? I'm planning for it. All the, I want to drink. I don't want to drink. When I could free up my mental real estate, when I could be free of the desire, have no temptation to drink, I knew that there would be good things. I just had no idea what God had waiting for me on the other side of that. And it took, to your point, Lauren, very similarly, I experienced the same thing where it's like that space had to be created for God to be like, look what I've been waiting to give you. Me, like deep, real, intimate connection with me through Jesus. And this is, I didn't see that before. I didn't get that before. I didn't know that I was missing that. And that's why I think this conversation is so important because if you make this space that is like where our eyes are fixed on other things that are not going well for us or getting in the way of God's best for us, like we're missing out on what he does have for us, which is a million times more than I ever thought possible when I was like, okay, freedom from alcohol would just have been enough. But what I got was so much more because I got Jesus through it. And it sounds similar to what you're saying too.
I think that when I started this, because originally, if you go back and listen to not that I'm expecting anyone to do that, this started because I was going to take 30 days off. This was August of 2022. And I was really doing it for health reasons. And like you said, that would have been enough. And I am much healthier. Like I just got another blood panel done during my annual checkup, and like my cholesterol is way down. I'm literally, I've lost more than 20 pounds. I understand that's not everyone's experience. I can run for miles now without stopping. Like all of that would have been enough. But there was even more.
Yeah. I love that so much. I love that so much. Imagine stepping into a vibrant, warm community where faith, friendship, and freedom from alcohol all come together. That's exactly what you'll experience in the But Jesus Drank Wine community.
Each week, our members gather for connection calls that feel like a breath of fresh air, a time to share, grow, and support one another.
With an encouraging leadership team, a dedicated prayer request space, and connection opportunities in every time zone, you don't have to walk this journey alone.
Plus, we bring you masterclasses with expert guests, optional book clubs and Bible studies, and so much more.
And for those ready to go even deeper, we offer a small group coaching space called The Missing Piece. With weekly recorded coaching calls, it's a supportive place for women committed to breaking free from alcohol.
We're here to hold space for sober and sober-curious women who love Jesus or are eager to reconnect with him. Wherever you are on your path, you'll feel seen, supported, and strengthened here.
As one member described, quote, the BJDW community is unique because there's a connection between faith and freedom from alcohol that I haven't been able to find in any other online space or through my church.
Ready to join the sisterhood? Head over to butjesusdrankwine.com/community or click the link in the show notes to learn more. We can't wait to meet you.
I was reading this week in I can't, I'm gonna mess up the chapter, but it was Luke maybe 15 or 16 about the road being narrow. And I was just thinking about how we are up against this cultural landscape, although it is shifting, of everybody drinking and everybody and it being the thing, how you described of thing you do at weddings or the special occasions and all these things. And we're just like taking we're taking the road less traveled. We're taking the narrow path. And it is hard. And this podcast is all about talking to the women that feel that and feel that it's hard, but also there's so much for us on the other side of the narrow path. Like, it's all for us. And when we get caught up in like the deprivation and missing out that the world like has on offer and makes look really glittery and really special and really shiny, it's so good. Did I make any sense?
No, you totally did. You totally did. It's like peace, and there's like a richness to my life too, in a meaning. I was really skimming the surface of my life in many ways.
Mhm.
I was doing the bare minimum pretty well.
No, me too,
And
babe. Yeah.
and it was not pleasurable or joyful. It was exhausting. The bare minimum.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is so different for me now.
But to everybody else, for me I can relate to that. For me, nobody else would have seen that it was bare minimum. Is that true of your experience too? Where it's like that facade of we're doing all the things, but really we're just bare minimum.
I mean, I think I think me choosing not to drink probably looked pretty extreme to a lot of people. Like, and unless, like, why would she do that?
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
I loved wine. I drank a lot.
I did too. Yeah. But when you don't have a desire for it anymore, it's wow. Who knew?
I'm so much healthier physically. I'm healthier mentally. I my faith is really growing and flourishing. I am doing some creative writing and I'm playing the piano more. It's just like little things. And my life is not perfect and I still lose my temper and I still really try to push back against busyness and stress. So things aren't perfect, but I just can cope so much better.
Yeah. What's your experience been like being one of our leadership team members and encouraging and loving and mentoring some of these gals in our community with your experience?
I think that what y'all have built in our building is really unique. And I don't think that I don't think something like this existed when I was starting to like ask these questions and start questioning my drinking. I obviously hired Christy as a coach. Okay, so I said a few minutes ago that this started out as like a 30-day break from alcohol. And in 2 weeks in, 2 or 3 weeks in, I was like, this feels so good. I've got to keep going, but I don't know that I can do this on my own. So basically, I reached out to Christy and joined one of her small groups. And honestly, I think that made all the difference for me. I don't know that I would be here without that. But and also it wasn't like a faith-based group either. And so I wonder, so what y'all are doing is it's really making it so accessible for so many people. And I've just enjoyed being a part of it. I don't know how helpful I am or how much leadership value I'm really bringing to the table, but it's been fun to be a part of it for sure.
It's just so important to have a group of women, a space where we can bring our real selves. We can share the tension of like where things are really hard related to alcohol or not. We have women in our community, obviously, that are free from alcohol too, but to see the tension of like things, the narrow path, like Christy was saying, the narrow path and the abundance. and to bring it all to a space where we can be real about it, real about what's hard, real about I've been free from alcohol, but these thoughts about alcohol keep popping up. What is that about? You're not the only one who's experienced that. Let's get curious about, let's talk about, like, what could that mean? Does that mean you have the desire to drink? Does that mean it's just an old practice thought pattern that's coming to the surface from an old neural pathway? Like, having a space where we can, I don't know, connect the two things because they are not separate.
Yeah.
And the ultimate piece that comes from replacing wine with, or alcohol with, the vine, the capital V vine, that ultimately is where the peace and the freedom and the joy and that we all so badly want and think that maybe alcohol is going to give us because we've been conditioned to believe that it is, but it's not.
I think that's also, sorry, go ahead, babe.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, like how you said earlier, oh my gosh, you have to talk about alcohol all day long. I think that the reason that we're able to like keep doing that is because obviously because of our faith and the fact that this community has grown into gals that are on their journey to find freedom, but the gals that have found freedom are sticking around, that just like you, to then turn around and mentor and lead other gals. And what that then unlocks going forward of what they get to work on next and where God has their purpose lying and all of this other good stuff. And so that's, I think, the reason that we are able, because I think if I would have stayed in the space of never bringing my faith into this, just coaching in a secular side, I would have been burnt out to a crisp by now. But because it's like we're building this community together where, okay, you've removed alcohol, cool. What's coming up for you now? And what's God trying to teach you? And where is he trying to lead you? And what's next? And there's so much beyond that, which is why I think it's special.
So, look, I was never going to walk into an AA meeting, right? But and I really do think that what we have is what you all are doing is fundamentally different than AA. But in that way, it is similar, where you become sober and then you stick around and mentor the people who are going through it. But different than the Advent devotional we're doing has nothing to do with it. There's spaces in the community for women at different points in the journey, I think.
That's so good. And just for you gals listening, so we are going to be doing the Bible recap starting early January. So if that's something that you're interested in, we're going to be doing that in the community. And then if you're at the beginning, or it doesn't even matter actually where you are, but we're also going to be walking through a 40-day fast from January 6th. So all of that is coming up in our community. And you'll find Lauren in there, and you'll obviously find us in there. I know you have an amazing, really tiny Tina. Let's talk about your teeniest, tiniest Tina.
Okay, my first, actually I have two. I would say buy Christy's book. If this, I don't know when you're listening to this, but I've said this before, but you will learn something even if you do not complete the 40-day fast completely 100% alcohol free. And so I think the book's like $13 on Amazon. And I think it would just be such a valuable way, if you have any interest in Dry January at all, to read this book alongside that break from alcohol. The only time a break from alcohol ever really benefited me was when I actually tried to learn something about what alcohol was doing in my body and my brain, like mentally and physically. And so I think this book would be like the perfect companion to taking a break at the beginning of the year. But my other tiny Tina, and something that has been really helpful for me the past few years, is instead, I used to be really into setting New Year's resolutions. Like it was going to be a brand new year and a brand new me, and I was going to fix every problem, and I was going to lose 15 pounds, and I was going to figure out this alcohol thing and all the things. I was going to be transformed. And
Yep.
what happens? Like, it doesn't, that they never really worked for me.
It's January 17th, and it's maybe not even January 12th.
Yeah.
Forget it.
Yeah. There were definitely dry Januaries where I made it like 10 days. My tiny Tina, this is what I would suggest. Instead of setting a resolution, pick a word for the year. I've done this will be my 3rd year in a row doing this. And it's more like a feelings based exercise than it is setting specific goals. So, and you can't fail. There's no way to fail, which is really nice. So, the first year I did this, my word for the year was nurture. Like I was really going to focus on nurturing myself in a way that like you nurture a baby so that the baby grows. I was going to do that for myself. This year my word has been joy, which has been such a great word, and I really feel like I've learned a lot about joy, and I also keep on my phone a notes app of all the things that have brought me joy in 2024.
Love that.
Yes. You're on the note. You're in the list a few times, Christy. We had an amazing
You're in my gratitude channel.
our
You're in my
our
journal too.
Christy organized this amazing trip to it was this country English retreat this past January. That's on my joy list. And also Christy's book launch in New York was on my joy list. I have a lot of things. That has been a great word. And then my word for 2025 I just picked is create. I want to really tap into my creativity and my sense of play, and I want to like design and rethink like rhythms that aren't working, and yeah, I just and another thing that I will suggest in picking a word of the year is I've been ordering on Etsy little rocks with my
Cute.
little rocks with my word on them. So anyway, it's I think it's like a more like grace-filled way to approach the new year.
I love it. I love it. And I love thinking about nurture. So that was your word last year, right?
That was my word for 2023. Yeah.
Yeah. So your year of nurture included getting rid of taking alcohol off the table and allowing the Lord to come and ultimately be the nurturer with what he had for you. Like, that's pretty cool.
And
That's amazing.
The great thing about this little pick a word exercise is that the meaning of the word can change for you over the year. And it like provides for flexibility in a way that like committing to losing 15 pounds doesn't. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Or
what I love about it is it allows you to be curious about, okay, I'm setting an intention to feel joy this year. What are the things that bring me joy? Does this bring me joy? Okay, I'm committed. This is where I'm focusing. What are the things? Who are the people? Where do I experience the feeling of joy? And it keeps us in that curious place to where we are more honestly looking at the things that we want to allow in and the things that we don't. So it doesn't become this, you're bad if you don't go to the gym all those times that you said you would, that you've committed to, or eat this or drink that or whatever. It keeps us curious and intentional.
when I picked joy, I had the idea of joy in my mind, like those laugh out loud moments, tears rolling down your face, you're just doubled over in happiness. And sometimes it does look like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a lot quieter too.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a really helpful thing for me to do.
I love it. So encouraging for our listeners who are getting ready to start the new year and think about, what do you want to feel in the new year? Do you want to feel free? Do you want to feel lighter? Do you want to feel peace, joy, all the things? Do you want to focus on nurture or creating? I think that's amazing, Lauren. It's so good.
Mead, have you picked it? Do you do this? Do you do the
No, I don't, but I love the idea of it. Yeah.
I wrote mine down for 2025 the other day, and and this will be not a surprise because you gals know me. It's quiet.
Ooh,
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that.
No,
That is a good one for you.
I feel like I'm really excited to see what happens because of how hard it already feels just to even say that word.
That's where the growth. That's where the growth happens, baby. I love it so much.
I can't wait to talk at this time next year and see how that went for me.
We'll be doing a follow-up episode with you.
Thank you, Lauren. We love you so much. You're the
for
best.
having me.
We appreciate everything about you, and I'm just so grateful for you and blessed to have you in our community. And there's something really special about, I think, the fact that you've been there too with me and with us. But like speaking from me personally, with me, like since the beginning, and we both just, I don't know, grown so much together. And so I won't cry because every time I talk about Lauren, I cry. But yeah, I'm just so grateful for you.
I'm grateful
Thanks,
for
babe.
you too.
All
Thanks.
right, friends.
That was fun.
See you next Monday.
See you in the new year.
Oh my gosh, 2025. Woo.
Thank you so much for joining us again this week. You can find all of our episodes at butjesusdrinkwine.com, and be sure to follow us over on Instagram, Love Life Sober, and I'm Not Sober, I'm Free. To learn more about what we do, you can visit our websites, meethollandshirley.com and lovelifesober.com. Take a screenshot of this podcast and share it with a friend or two. And don't forget to subscribe to our pod so you don't have to worry about missing a single episode. And if you love what we're doing, please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify. This helps more women who are feeling stuck and alone in the overdrinking cycle find hope and encouragement. Thanks, ladies. We so appreciate you, and we'll see you next Monday.